what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of B is for Build. In this episode we've got a lot to do. So we're focused on painting the FJ, but before we do that we have to install our new fender flares. So we're going to install new fender flares, we're going to paint all the accessory pieces as satin black to match the window trim, and then we're going to paint the rest of the entire auto body in truck bed liner. Stay tuned. Okay, real quick before I get back to work, I want to address a few things. The Mustang. So the Mustang, everybody's been asking for an update. Here's what happened. We've been working on it, tuning it in parallel with the BRZ, and then people kept getting really frustrated that we were doing episodes on the Mustang and not the BRZ, blah, 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 jumping around. And I decided, okay, no more of that. And so I worked on it in the background for a little bit more. We got it to a point where it runs and drives, but it doesn't understand boost. So it's just not safe to drive into boost yet, but you can still run and drive it around as long as you just keep an eye on that boost gauge. So, given how many people seem to be very vocally again saying they want it back, they want a conclusion to it, I completely understand your feelings. So I'm going to start working on that in the background once again. All we're doing is tuning though, so there's not going to be any episodes because there's really nothing to see. But in the last episode I posted it on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to dig back, you can see that. We did new injectors, we got a better tune on it, and we got it running driving on the street. It was a huge improvement. So that's that, and we're going to keep tuning it. The next time you see it though will be the finale for that, because I mean the tune is done, which means the car is basically done. And then, okay, the other thing was about this build. So a lot of people seem to not have seen the concept rendering of this or know what the game plan was on this. So here's the picture of the final concept rendering that I did. I made a pretty cool episode that's earlier in this playlist if you want to see it, about how I photoshopped basically a plain Jane one of these and turned it into that. And so it's going to look just like that concept rendering minus the body armoring. And honestly, by the end of this episode, it should look like that. So this is going to be one hell of a transformation if I pull it off. Given that in mind, and with that still on the screen, I want to show you the parts that we're going to paint the satin black are the, what are they called? Rock guards, slider bars. They're the things right under the door sills. You're going to see that there. Those go satin black. Roof rack, satin black. Front grille, satin black. Door handles and mirrors, satin black. So that's something that we're going to jump on today, and I'm not sure if it's probably not the first thing that we're going to do today, but it will be, actually, yeah, that's going to be the first thing that we do today. Okay, so I got to get my head straight real quick, and I gotta do some stuff with some fender flares, and then we'll jump on painting stuff satin black. Alright, we painted some stuff black, and now I'm ready to paint a lot more stuff black. What I did was I came in underneath everywhere where the fender flare is going to cover, and I painted with the black. That way if anybody catches a peak for one reason or another, at least it will be black. But also, you got to put paint over Bondo. So I did Bondo on bare metal. There's a bit of a discussion on whether you should do bare metal primer then Bondo, or you can do Bondo on bare metal and then primer. It says on the back of the Bondo can to do it on bare metal, guys. All you haters in the comments. But anyways, one way or another, Bondo will absorb moisture, and if it does absorb moisture, then that moisture will go through the Bondo onto the bare metal and rust the bare metal underneath. So you can't do that. So you got to put paint over it. So before we do any Raptor Liner on it, every bit of Bondo that you've seen on this car will have a coat of paint over it to seal out moisture. Although I assume the Raptor Liner will do the same thing, I want to be double sure. So that's what we did there. That's all good. The next thing you're going to see me do is I'm going to start masking off these side windows on both sides and painting the side mirrors and the door handles so they all match. Right now we have a silver door handle on the other side, black one here, and two chrome mirrors on both sides. This mirror is going to get replaced anyways, but it's not in the mail yet, so I'm going to go ahead and paint that one to match. That way we don't have one weird chrome looking mirror and everything else. And the cool thing is we can tape off these windows so they won't catch any overspray, and then we can just spray these onto the car, overspraying onto the auto body, because then we will mask these off once they've dried, and then Raptor Liner the auto body around them, and it won't matter that they got painted twice. That's the game plan. Lots of black painting to do. Okay, the black stuff turned out great. That bar right there that I was talking about earlier has a really nice consistent shine to it. It looks good. Front grille looks great. I decided to leave the Toyota letters that gray color that they were by factory, so those will pop a little bit. We got the side mirrors painted up. This one's obviously seen better days on this side, but the paint job on the rest of it looks good. And our door handles, which I already got dust on this one, and on both sides. So that's all good. Next thing that we gotta do is get these fender flares prepped. So they are a big pile of fender flare, and we gotta sand them up and prepare them and install them. So sand them first off of the car, then install them on the car so they're ready to be painted when they get installed. This should be a lot of fun. Fender flares are prepped, sanded up, and hardware installed. You got a 2-piece on the rear, 1 piece on the front. Took about an hour and a half to prep all of these, so let's see how long it takes to install them. Fender flare installation went great. They're really nicely secured on here. I had no issues with the mounting or anything like that, so I'm really stoked on that. They look a little funny because like we got one material with the car and different material with that and different materials everywhere. But once it's painted, it's gonna be very nice. So they're pretty cool. They hide some body lines, which I'm a little bit bummed about, but hopefully once the car is painted, it'll make it all really pop, and it definitely gives it that very high up aggressive look. So that's pretty cool. They look great. These are just generic off of eBay, if anybody's wondering. That's where I found them. I'm going to paint over the hardware. I don't want any chrome popping off on this car. It's all just going to be kind of black on black. So we'll paint over the hardware. And yeah, not much else to say. Great installation, great fender flares. So the next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and blow the car down to get all the excess dust and stuff off of it, the sanding dust, as much as I can. Then I'm gonna start taping and painting and masking off everything, not painting, sorry, taping up and masking off everything to prepare for the truck bed liner paint that's gonna go onto the body. So things like the glass, the wheels and tires, the things that we just painted black, all that stuff needs to get masked off. All right, it is a new day. It is the final day of this little phase of the project, so I'm really excited. By tonight, this thing should look awesome. Last night, I didn't get as far as I wanted to because I took a small break to sell the old wrecked, crashed BRZ that most of you guys never even saw on film that we bought a long time ago. I let that go to somebody that was gonna do better things to it than I was. So I'm happy that I gave it to a kid that's a builder and he's gonna restore the car, so that's awesome. I got the back half masked off. I got it masked off the front now. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, the masking is complete. It took forever to do. It was like 6 or 7 hours of masking on this vehicle, but it's all done now. So we're ready to start spraying paint. Before we can spray the truck bed liner on it, we need to take care of all the burn through marks where we got down to raw metal or any body work. So to do that, the way we're gonna take care of them and prep them for the Raptor liner is first clean them up with wax and degreaser, then we'll spray a self-etching primer over any spot where we see metal, and then spray a layer of paint. The paint will help keep out the water. The self-etching primer does magical stuff that the Raptor liner wants, and then it'll all be good. So it's a lot of work because we got a lot of spots that are burnt through, but it'll be definitely worth it for the longevity of the truck bed liner. The truck is fully prepped for paint. We use wax and degreaser over the entire surface. We've covered up all the bare metal and the Bondo with self-etching primer and paint, and we're good to go. So we're gonna start on the roof, which is gonna be very challenging because all I have is this really terrible stool that you guys have been seeing me use. It's actually broken in half, and I BS for built it back together. Salvage stool, and that's our roof right there, which we're only, I don't know, maybe less than 2 feet away from that lamp right there. So it's gonna be very tricky to spray, but I will figure it out. And then we'll go from the roof and we'll work our way down. Let me show you what we're gonna be spraying. I wanted to use a DIY truck bed liner solution for this auto body. To do Line-X, I got a quote. It was $2,400 if I got it prepared and I pulled all the trim and everything off. $2,400 to spray it. So far what we have invested into this is material for the paper and tape, which ain't much, and some of that spray paint. And then over here we're looking at $300 of Raptor Liner. So I went with Raptor Liner on your guys' advice. It is a two-part 2K, I don't know if it's urethane based or not, but it's a truck bed liner. Here's the gun. And the way it works is you have your liner in each one of these little 1 liter bottles. And so inside that is the black goop liner. And then you have your hardener right here. You put 250 milliliters of hardener inside the bottle. You shake the bottle up really well for 2 minutes. Then you screw it onto the gun and you're ready to spray it on there. So on my gun, I'm gonna go ahead and put a oil separator and an air filter. I'm gonna put an oil separator, air filter, and air gauge on here to adjust the air. You want between 40 and 60 PSI. I'm not sure if they want that at the tip or at the nozzle, but I'll dial that in as I start spraying. And we should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and mix one of these things up and then we'll get on the roof and try spraying out the roof. Basically, you normally wanna use like a test panel or something. I'm gonna use the roof as my test panel. Okay, just wrapped up the roof. I'm gonna bring the camera up there. You can see it applied pretty well. Looks good. It's a little tricky. I'm trying to kind of dial in the dot size, and you gotta really make sure, like for instance, say this hasn't been painted again yet, but you don't wanna just spray straight on and forget to get under the lip there. So, but the roof is done. It took up 2 of the little 1 liter things to do the whole roof. And that seems to be, I think if we can continue at that speed or whatever, that amount of paint usage will be fine for the vehicle. And what I'm just trying to figure out is how to get kind of the texture to be a little bit more fine and gritty rather than a little bit bigger, but I don't know if that's really going to be possible. I'll dial that in though. As I move over to the back here, I'm going to paint the back next. Very interesting. I'm only through 3 of the liters and I've got the roof and this quarter panel and the back done. So I might have really underestimated the amount of coverage that this stuff gets. It looks cool. I'm digging it. It looks freaking crazy, but it's cool. I'm really digging it. I'm excited. It's going on very nice and evenly. So I'm not worried about like the splotchiness look of it or anything like that. Like, it doesn't really seem to be an issue with this one. So far, I mean, we're gonna have to let it dry, but damn, that's cool. All right, I'm just gonna quickly paint up the whole rest of the car now. Wow, this truck looks mean as hell with this new paint on here. It really looks like beefier and just tougher. And that was definitely the look I was going for, so I'm stoked on that. It was not as aggressive looking, much less aggressive looking before, so I'm really stoked on how it came out. So the paint is it's a 2K paint, so it's basically paint with hardener and thinner built into it, and then that stuff's all got to gas off, and that's what it's doing right now. Very little overspray though. You can see that the air in the shop is not nearly as crazy as some of the times when we paint with other automotive paints. So we got to give it time to off gas. I'm hoping that we're going to see the things like that. Like if I bounce the light the right way on the camera, you can kind of see some spots that look a little bit wet, and I'm really hoping that those are gonna come out with the off gassing. So let's see. I think I'm gonna leave this. I'll come back either tomorrow or later tonight, and we'll take a look at the finished result. All right, I had a bit of a camera malfunction, so you're gonna see the car in one state, and then in a second you're gonna see it go back to previous. But I really wanted to show you guys what the paint looks like when it's dry. It came out wonderfully. It doesn't have any tiger striping or splotchiness or difference in texture. It's all looking really nice and really uniform. And unlike some of the other ones that I've seen, this came out very, very black. It's hard to tell because there's a lot of stuff shining off of stuff, but this is a black window, black frame, very, very black bar, and you can see there's really no difference in the coloring there. It's like, that's a tiny bit blacker than the Rhino Liner, or Raptor Liner, but it's very black, and it just dried up really nice, and it looks great. The truck no longer looks like it was rolled over, and that's awesome. And I wanted to show you guys, this is how much of the materials we use. These are $100 boxes. $100 and about $25. You use 4 liters of that and 1 liter of that one. And we used a spray gun that was only about $20. Using this spray gun too, you don't need as much air pressure, so you don't have to use a full-on large-size air compressor. So this is a very good DIY at-home coating for very cheap. If you want to do it for a truck or anything where you want this look, this is something I would highly recommend for the at-home DIYers out there, because it was very inexpensive, and you don't need any special materials or special things like air compressors or paint guns or anything like that. Just $20 paint gun right there, standard small air compressor, and you're off to the races. All right, guys, we did it. FJ looks awesome, and it no longer looks like it's been rolled over, and we did it all on a budget. It's very much the BS for Build way. We spent about $150 on supplies to paint this thing, and for a normal small car, I normally spend between $300 or more on a paint job. So we definitely did it on a smaller budget than normal. I'm stoked on it. If you guys are enjoying this, in the next episode, we're going to install some pretty awesome accessories that are going to help out with its adventure ability. That's a good word, look it up. If you like BS for Build and you like what we do and you want to help out and support, head over to bsforbuild.com. Scroll down to the shop, find your favorite piece of merchandise, and snag that baby up before it's gone. There are FJ shirts still in stock. All the proceeds of all the merch sales go directly towards supporting us with these builds and helping buy parts and stuff like that. So thank you guys all so much to do that. And if you want to find us on more places, all social media outlets, we are BS for Build. If we're on there, there's a link in the description to everything, Facebook, Twitter, everything. And we are streaming live most nights on Twitch. If you want to come say hi, join in, jump in the conversation. And we're going to be doing something very cool very soon. Like this week, we're going to be taking a 3D model of the Aston Martin V8 Vantage that I have out there, and we are going to be modeling and modifying a model in 3D space to figure out what modifications I want to do and how I'm going to build them and how it's going to look. So that's going to be our concept rendering as well. So it's going to be really cool. I'm going to do it all live on Twitch for you guys to see, and myself, so I know what I'm doing. That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Peace!